Hi there. Today we have a fun algorithm to solve, uh, and it's called the two-sum algorithm, which essentially says that given an array of integers nums and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to target. You may assume that each input would have exactly one solution, and you may not use the same element twice. You can return the answer in any order. And a quick comment, the source of this algorithm is litcode.com, so if you would like to check it up, feel free to do it. I already solved this algorithm, of course. And basically my implementation compares the sum of each item of nums with other items until the two indices is found or until all items was compared. Worst time complexity of the implementation I did is O n to the power of 2. Well, it is by far not the best implementation. And I also added this interesting drawing trying to visualize the steps that the JavaScript interpreter or Node.js while executing takes, which is essentially it starts with the first element, and it compares the first element with all the other elements in the array, and then it jumps to the second element, on this case, element of index 1, and compares it to the first element, to the second, then on this case, third element, and then to the last element. And well, the algorithm will do this until the two indices was found. So let's actually see some code, right? Let me start by creating a constant indices that will hold the indices, and my next step will be to create a variable of control because I'm going to use while loop. So I'm going to call it I equal 0, and I'm ready to create the loop. So I am going to say indices. I keep writing index. That length should be different than 2, and I should be less than nums that length. So as long as this while loop will run, as long as the condition above is true, whenever it becomes false, whenever it's computed as false, then this loop will stop. So let me log I, and I also need to increment I. And as you can see, we have index 0, 1, and 2. Because I'm already executing this function, the two-sum function, and I'm passing an array of 3 elements. And the target that I'm looking for is the value 6. So next step is to create another loop to now make sure that the item in the array that's referenced, that's on this case obtained on this loop, is compared to all the other elements in the array. So if the first item is 3, I'm the next loop will compare 3 with 2 and 3 with 4. Okay, let me add again another variable of control that I'm going to call j equal to 0 and add another for loop, which is not for loop, while loop, which is quite similar to the one I just wrote above. Again, it expects indices that length to be different than 2 and j to be less than nums that length. I am adding indices that length different than 2 because whenever indices that length is 2, meaning that the indices were actually found, I would like the algorithm to stop looking, right? It should stop either this loop or as well this loop, right? There is no reason to keep looping forever if the indices were found. Next step is to add a condition, which is, if you remember, let me go back again. Let me check. And you may not use the same element twice, meaning that I need to add a conditional, a statement inside of this condition that makes sure that the same element is not compared with the sum of itself. So if I and j are different and nums I plus nums j equal to target, it means that I managed to find the indices that I'm looking for, the indices that when summed together they are equal to target. Let me first log the indices and let me as well add a return statement. Indices. Since this is a while loop, I needed to increment j, and now we have the right indices logged, right, which is 1 and 2. If we take a look again, 3 plus 2, 5, it's different than 6. 3 plus 4, 7, it's different than 6. 2 plus 3, 5, different than 6. 2 plus 4, 6. We found our indices, which is 1 and 2. Next step, let me push it to indices and that's it. We have 1 and 2. Thank you for passing by, and I hope you had fun.